So, the first of 3 hypermanic headbending game weeks is over, and it ends with my lord smashing right through the glass ceiling of the top 100k, and with Gladiator Glen's advantage at the top of the world's greatest mini-league absolutely decimated, as the 41-point lead he held at the start of the game week has had 35 massive bites taken out of it. Now, we often talk on this channel of the importance of showing those championship cojones, and quite often it's in the form of what signings to make and what players to drop. However, in game week 13, the big balls call came in the form of a transfer I did not make, as I opted against bringing in the absolute can't miss must-have Joao Pedro and Matheus Cunha. I stated in the last video that I believed such transfers were unnecessary for my team, for I own the almighty Johan Wissa, and nobody stops Brentford attackers at the G-Tech. What's the point in signing Pedro or Cunha, I said, when I believe my man's going to outscore them both and he owes me big time? Well, the wonderful Wissa owes me no more, because he went and quadrupled the points of those popular picks. However, it wasn't all good news in the Saturday 3pms, as not only did Aït-Nouri score 0 points, but then my Newcastle lads went and let me down for their second game week running. First, Alexander the not-so-great went and showed exactly why so many people avoid him, going off injured early doors and securing just 1 point. And then my defender went and conceded when it was all over by the shouting. Between soft hands Sanchez last week and lost his man Lewis that's 2 clean sheets lost in the dying embers of matches, and they were a bigger kick in the teeth than the one that fractured my front fangs. Yet like a vampire I was out for blood, and the Starboy sucked the life out of my rivals with 18 points in the twilight hours, leaving those wrong lost boys fretting from dusk till dawn about how they let the right one in.
Sorry about that. No hard feelings, huh?
And then Saturday turned into Sunday and I was daring to dream, with 5 players in the 2pms and only Maddison and Jimenez who could help the Gladiator. There was a real opportunity for something sensational to happen, yet not even in my wildest dreams, and I do have wild dreams, could I have envisioned those 5 players picking up 42 points between them. The Chelsea boys did the business, with the sharpshooting Nico Jackson not only scoring the goal, but also avoiding the yellow card which would have ruled him out of that Southampton match. Cole the goal banged in 14 massive points, and while the Gladiator also owns him, they were still very welcome indeed. And though I had to turn my television off towards the end due to my rising anxiety, good old safe hand Sanchez went and kept the clean sheet for another 7 points. Meanwhile, over at Old Trafford, it was Mazraoui's turn to be hooked before the hour, while Dirty Diogo managed to secure another 6 points, showing exactly why those who claim Man United are stronger defensively without him should spend less time drinking coffee on the outskirts of town and more time actually watching football matches. And finally, my feisty punt on Bruno Fernandes continued to pay off, as he took his total to 38 points in the 4 game weeks since I brought him in, with a 9-point score. Although I'm going to tell you why there's just a tinge of disappointment to that total. You see, on Thursday night I started to get some vibes, and then on Friday morning I awoke to the overwhelming sensation that it was time to move for Mitoma. However, his performances this season have not been so great, so I decided to open the FPL black box to find some more information. Though it's been said I'm some sort of soothsaying soccer Shakespeare, I'm never too proud to seek counsel from those who might know best. So I turned to the Cervinho slanderer himself, Black Boxers, and I asked whether it was worth swooping for the Seagull Samurai. I should have known it was the wrong game week to ask us whether it was worth switching from a savoury central play to someone who operates on those spicy wings.
I can't explain all the areas of my mouth that hurt.
But all's well that ends well, because only 1 point was lost, and with the injury to Isak, that extra transfer could come in very useful for Gameweek 14. But yeah, the only player I had left to play was my captain, and Mr. Consistency went and did it again, bringing home another beautifully boring 26 points. That gave me a final Gameweek score of 97 points, missing out on the 100 club by the narrowest of margins. And it would be easy for me to sit here and say if only I'd avoided Isak and kept the wonderful Jorgen Strand Larsen, then I'd be on 107 points and well inside the top 50k. But I'll be honest with you, like I always am, if I did still have JSL, then he would have been rotting on my bench, because I would have started on Boomo ahead of him, and that would have been even more frustrating than having sold him in the first place. And though the signing of Isak seems like it hasn't worked out, I will never regret backing the greatest striker in all of world football. However, the Isak injury does leave me in a quandary for Game Week 14, because the original plan of replacing Fernandes and Wissa seems less than optimal with Isak injured, Diblin suspended and 2 defenders playing Liverpool and Arsenal. And this is the moment I thank Blackbox has, because thanks to him I have options. I could just give Wissa the Villa game, and given the form Adrian Brody's team are showing, that maybe wouldn't be the worst thing.
No. It looks fun now.
And if I do that, then the question remains what to do with those 2 free transfers. I have the exact funds to do Isak and Diblin to Strand Larsen and Bowen, and though it would leave me with a benching headache, that's a move I like a lot. I could also stick with my original master plan and sell Fernandes for Bowen, a move which would enable me to get Cunha in for Isak, which is one I really like given he has Everton, West Ham, Ipswich and Leicester to come, and with how it would leave funds in the bank to upgrade some of my defensive options. However, I look at those tough fixtures for Fernandes, and I see him against an Arsenal team with 1 clean sheet in 9 game weeks. I see him against a Nottingham Forest who have conceded 6 goals in 3 games, and I see him against a Manchester City team in defensive disarray, and I wonder how tough those fixtures really are and whether I can get 2 or 3 more game weeks out of him. But then if I keep Fernandes and I switch Isak and Diblin to Bowen and Strand Larsen, will I end up priced out of switching Wissa to Evan Ilson next week, who I actually think is the best option of all those mid-range strikers? It's a tough call, and though I am leaning towards Bowen and Strand Larsen, I do not like the benching dilemma it creates, nor how it limits my defensive transfers going forward. However, in this game you can never have a perfect squad, only one with as few issues as possible. And my imperfect lords have not only closed the gap on the Gladiator, but they've established a 26-point cushion on those gentlemen placed 3rd and below. And though the hectic schedule prevents me from going too in-depth into the League of Gentlemen in this video, I can tell you that some notable falls, including former champ the Ox plummeting to 31st, Deadly Daz dropping to 27th, John Go-Karting spinning out from 2nd not so long back all the way down to 17th, and perhaps most surprisingly King Ding dropping all the way down to 10th, just when he looked like he was about to push on and launch a serious title challenge. With the strange signing of Jose Sarr in goal last week in order to make Dean Henderson his substitute goalkeeper already having a disastrous effect. Meanwhile, for every fall there must be a rise, and noteworthy rank rises include Terminator Triss, who has recovered from his early season aberration to reach 23rd place, the Devil's favourite DJ climbing from the depths of hell to reach the top 20, largely as a result of a ballsy captaincy of Saka, uncaged Andy Page leaping 5 places to 8th, and Brad the Lad's 95 points taking him all the way up to 3rd position. The main story in the world's greatest mini-league, though, of course, is those top 2 positions, because in 3 small game weeks, Gladiator Glen's 65-point advantage over me has been whittled all the way down to just 6 points. And if it wasn't for Pep Le Pew's attack stinking out the joint, it would have been eradicated altogether. However, credit where it's due, and the Gladiators' big balls call to go with a double Liverpool defence against the most elite marksman in the game paid off. And it's a good job, because the signs are there that the pressure is starting to get to mighty Morton.
Losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits.
After the 16-point benching of Maddison last week, this week's bizarre call was to ignore the statistical evidence of Umbumo's decline in impact and to give Brentford's new wing-back the captain's armband, a decision which proved a massive unforced mistake. And now the margin for error is next to nil, and with our team sharing only 2 players, the potential is there for massive swings each and every game week. And the toughest thing is that the Gladiator has no time to recover from this massive setback, because the second of 3 highly intense game weeks in 8 days is already upon us. And there's no time for emotions to settle and for cooler heads to prevail. Game week 14 is here, and we all have dilemmas over our teams and barely any time with which to solve them. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not entirely sure what the best course of action is. The pivot to Isak 2 game weeks ago has left my transfer decisions more difficult than they otherwise would have been, and the difficulties now present after the divergence from my master plan highlights the dangers of those reactionary moves to each and every FPL manager, especially when it comes to those injury-prone players. And while I'd love to be sat here giving it the old Billy Big Bollocks, the truth is I'm actually quite nervous, because I've gone and made it up to that pedestal I'd hoped to place myself on, and now I have something tangible to lose, and the odds are far more likely that I'm going to be hit with the red arrow rather than firing out another one of those glorious greens. And I can only hope those FPL gods are kind to me and I can make it through game week 14 in good shape, because I'm now in the top 87,000 in the entire world, and that means there are 10.75 million hungry sharks circling beneath me, and that Isak injury may mean they start to catch the scent. In this game it only takes 1 mistake for the hunter to become the hunted, and my potential for error has increased exponentially. And so ahead of the seemingly inevitable midweek madness, let me just say, may all your transfers be successful, may all your arrows be green, and may those FPL gods be in your favour. Release the heat from the pressure cooker by hitting that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.
It's an FPL Nightmare, company pulling out more, yeah. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average, and my ranking is not fair.